public meeting by attending at the designated physical location as posted in the notice and agenda. If a member of the public or of the public body has technical difficulties accessing this meeting remotely, please alert us by email at selectboard@hartford-vt.org. In the event of a technical difficulty that cannot be resolved, we may continue the meeting if necessary to a time and place certain. Please note that all votes taken during this meeting that are not unanimous will be done by roll call vote in accordance with the law. As required by the open meeting law, let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance of all members participating in the meeting and have those members attending remotely identify themselves to ensure that they can hear and be heard throughout the meeting. Lanny?
I'm here. Lanny Collins.
Sue?
Here.
Ida?
I'm here.
Mary?
Mary's here.
Brandon?
Here.
Kim?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear us?
And
Thank you, Kim. And I am here. So we are here. Our next item is the Pledge of Allegiance. Would anyone like to lead us this evening?
I'd be happy to.
Thank you, Lynn.
It's like, John, would you like to do it? All right. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Lenny.
Thank you for the honor.
All right, so we will close this portion of the Hartford Select Board and reopen as the local liquor control board. We have two items for consideration as the liquor control board. The first is to consider new liquor licenses for Collaborative Stoke, doing business as trail breaks, taps, and tacos. And those are for a license of the first class, third class, and outside consumption. And I believe we have someone here from Trail Break. If you want to come up and just identify yourself and tell us about, the need for the licenses.
Podium,
Go to the
podium,
microphone.
podium.
Oh, sorry.
Introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from.
Hi, I'm Sabrina Siegel. I work at Trailbreak as the catering and restaurant manager. We used to have our restaurant in White River Junction, and we just moved to our new location in Quechee, Vermont. And so we are in the works of opening and are trying to get a new liquor license for our new location.
Okay, any questions for Sabrina? Any discussion by the board? Otherwise, I'll take a motion. Mary?
Sure. I move the select board approve a new liquor permit for Collaborative Stoke LLC doing business as Trail Breaks, Taps, and Tacos, 5945 Woodstock Road, Quechee, Vermont, 05059 for first class, third class, and outside consumption.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
We have a second from Brandon. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I
Okay, Jan, just thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
And good luck.
Thank you.
When you plan to open?
When are we opening?
Yes.
In the next 2 weeks.
Good.
Yep.
Great.
Is
Awesome.
our goal. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, our next item is a renewal of KB Ventures doing business as Jake's Market and Deli. That's a second class license, tobacco and tobacco endorsement. Any discussion? Not, I will take a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the renewal of KB Ventures LLC doing business as Jake's Market and Deli, 1477 Maple Street, White River Junction, Vermont, 05001 for a second class tobacco endorsement license.
We have a second.
Second.
We have a second from Sue. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I
Okay, unanimous, great. All right, we will close our time as the local liquor control board and reopen as the local cannabis control board, where we have we're considering the renewal of application S00008418. That's Cloudy Day Farm LLC, and I believe we have someone here from Cloudy Day.
My name's Diane Lee, the owner of Cloudy Day Farm. We did fairly well. It's very small.
Sorry, one of the board members can't hear. If you could
Okay.
lean into the mic. A little.
Okay, so we have a very small tier 1 that we don't even do 125. We do quality. And so we had a very good yield last year, and we really gave it to the public, and we donated a lot to the cancer individuals. So we'd like to continue if you would allow us.
Okay, any
Thank you.
questions? No questions. I'll take a motion.
I'll have,
Mary?
okay. I'd like this, the local cannabis control board to renew the application S-00000841 Cloudy Day Farm LLC.
Okay, do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. I think we'll give it to Ida. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Okay, thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank
All
you.
right, we will end our time as the local cannabis control board and reopen as the Hartford Select Board. Order of agenda, I don't see any changes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Lenny?
I'd just like to make a comment on the agenda, if I might.
Okay,
I've done a lot of thinking about this and a lot of discussion with a lot of people. And our role of select board, as select board members in the town of Hartford that we were elected to this position for is to do the most good for the needs of the citizens of the town of Hartford. That's what our elected position is for, is to look after the needs of the town. And I still very much question item 5E, Gaza ceasefire resolution being on our agenda, as it fulfills none of the duties to which the needs of the citizens of the town of Hartford have elected us for. Thank you.
okay. Are you making some motion to
I make a motion that we
table it?
or not table it, but remove it entirely.
Okay, Lenny's moved that we remove item 5D, Gaza ceasefire resolution. Is there a second? Okay, there is no second, so that will stay on the agenda. We will go to public comment. So public comment, we'll start with people in the room and then go to those joining us on Zoom. We adopted last meeting our new rules of procedure. So people speaking in public comment will have 3 minutes to speak instead of 5, and 2 minutes to speak on a particular agenda item. If you want to speak, please come up to the microphone, identify yourself and your town or village of residence. Please address the select board as a whole, no personal attacks. And if there's an item on the agenda that you wish to speak about, please wait until we get to that. So public comment right now would be for items that are not currently on this meeting's agenda. So anyone in the room? Okay, I'm not seeing anyone. Kim, is there anyone on Zoom with their hands up?
There is one hand up. Should I?
Okay, let's hear from that person.
Marie, go ahead and.
Hi, Marie.
Hi, thanks. Hi, thank you. Marie Elvin from White River. Just a couple of comments on, I got interrupted at last time's meeting, so I just wanted to point out these couple of things. The survey, I was wondering how the survey is going to reach the generation that does not have computers or technology. Are there going to be paper copies available for those people? That's one question.
Okay.
And the other one was the banners. I remember that Kim said Vital Communications wanted to get a banner, and it seems like that would kind of be like an advertisement, and hopefully the banners won't become an advertisement. Just another point out there. And
Okay.
Also, there was a somebody said about when there's special meetings, they're going to put notices at the libraries, the Bugby Center, the Quechee Club. And I was just wondering, why aren't we using this listserv to post things on there? Why wouldn't we post a special meeting on the listserv, the Hartford listserv? I feel like a lot of communication. There's big communication issues in the town. So, you know, between the paper copies for the older folks and you know, special meetings being posted online, if somebody could answer those, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, John, if you want to answer those.
Yeah, I've got a couple answers for you, Marie. First of all, as to the survey, I was going to mention in my town manager comments, but I'll do so now. We've just received from Strategy Matters, our consultant, which is performing our community safety study, a flyer which we have posted on the website and on listserv and Facebook, I believe, which points out that there'll be 3 events beyond the survey to discuss the survey. On Juneteenth, which is Wednesday, June 19th, from 5 to 7:30 p.m. during the 9th annual Hartford Block Party here at the town offices. They will have a presence and people can speak to them face to face and directly. There will be a virtual town hall the next day, Thursday, June 20th, from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. And there'll be another interactive session later that night called a public town hall at the Hartford Area Career and Technology Center from 6 o'clock to 8 p.m. Again, where Strategy Matters will be there to hear directly from the public about their thoughts regarding community safety. I don't know whether there will be physical paper copies of the survey to fill out, but if you were to ask them, I'm sure they would try to facilitate that for you. As to communications in general, next week, we have 2 sets of interviews set up for applicants for our new communications specialist. And we certainly hope to have a hire to announce soon. And hopefully that person, whoever it is, will take this issue up with vigor and help us all do a better job of communicating.
Thank you, John. And just the last thing about the special meetings, you had, it was going to be posted at the libraries and the Bugby and the Quechee Club. And I was wondering why that isn't on the listserv as well.
I imagine it certainly could be.
I mean, I assume these are all paper copies that are going up at these facilities. And it's kind of the reverse of the survey. The survey is electronic, and then these special meetings are paper. And so just some input. Thank you very much, John. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much, Brian.
I'm sure Lana, who assists me in some of this public outreach and communication, is listening and taking note of these comments.
Thank you, John. Kim, are there any other hands up on Zoom?
Just mine at the moment, actually.
Well, we're about to go to select board comment. Do you want to?
Well, I just wanted to respond because
Right,
Marie's question about the banners, the policy states that no commercial advertising can be done. The Vital Communities Project was for art banners, not for advertising their nonprofit organization. And so there are no other hands up at the moment.
Okay, well, we will end public comment and go to select board comments and announcements. Kim, do you want to start us off?
No comment from me, thanks.
Okay, Brandon?
No comment.
Mary?
Yes. Are there any objections to the town manager appointing an interested member of the town staff as a staff liaison to H. Corey?
Question or
That's my
comment?
question.
There wasn't already a staff liaison?
Not yet. That's,
okay.
remember that we voted on a change in the charter
Right.
to include. And so I'm wondering if there's any objections to asking John.
I would.
This is comments and announcements. I haven't given this any thought at all, so if it had been warned, I would have thought about it and looked at it, but at this point, I'm not sure why it's coming up right now.
This person is a non-voting member.
That's not what I'm addressing. I'm addressing that I don't think this is the appropriate time to be talking about it on the agenda. Had no notice of it. I have no idea what it means. I don't know. I would like to have had some time to think about it. If you're asking for a response to this.
You can always add this to an upcoming agenda.
I'd be happy to do so.
Great, thanks, John.
Man?
Yeah, Sue beat me to the point here. You're asking a question that was never warned to us, presented to us.
That's why we're gonna look to put it on the agenda.
We can't. So
Thank you.
I wanted to echo my support for Sue's comments.
Okay, Ida, do you have any comments?
No, thank you.
Okay, Sue, any comments?
No, thank you.
Lanny, any comments?
No.
I have no comments, so we will move to appointments. We're going to consider the reappointment of Tobias Dayman to the Hartford Planning Commission for a 3-year term beginning June 11th, 2024 and ending June 10th, 2027. Select Board have any comments on this?
Hey, Mike, is anyone on the board monitoring, is on via Zoom at all or not?
I can, but I have not. Do you want me
We
to?
are not.
That's okay.
right.
That's fine. It's just, then I can only jump in when, I have my hand raised, but no one there can see it. So if
Oh,
you
I
just,
will.
Oh, yeah, well, Kim, if you have a comment or question, please, you can speak now.
I will monitor Zoom.
Okay, thanks, Lenny.
thanks, Lane, just to let Mike know that I have my hand up. This is for the Toby Dayman appointment.
Correct.
I reached out in my questions to the town manager this week about how recently the vacancies had been posted. And I think just because of some staff vacation and things that we didn't meet the minimum requirements for posting vacancies. So I would like to request that the board table this until the next meeting to allow town staff to post the current vacancies on the different notification formats.
Okay, we have a proposal from Kim to postpone this to the next meeting. Do we know that this was not posted for 30 days?
I'm not aware of it. I don't deny what Kim is saying. I just don't know. Lana has told me that in response to prior select board concerns about adequacy of notices for appointments and reappointments, that she has developed a document that is permanently on the town website identifying the end of each term of boards, commissions, and committees. I presume that remains accurate for this position as well, but Lana can certainly chime in if she wishes to. I believe she's monitoring us from home.
Okay, thank you, John. Kim, do you have information that it wasn't posted for the 30 days?
I don't have, I can go back and search like listserv posts and Facebook posts, but I haven't seen it. And so unless someone other than Lana did it, I don't think it got done at the end of May.
Okay. So select board, we have a proposal to table this until the next meeting. Is there any objection to that?
It would have been appointed today. Does that leave the planning commission short?
I imagine the term would have expired. Do we know what the expiration date was of this position?
It's showing a 3-year term beginning June 11th.
I requested the expiration date, but I don't think I got it. And honestly, if there's a vacancy, it's a vacancy. And so Mr. Dayman can reapply for the position. I'm fully in support of Toby Dayman being, I would absolutely vote in favor of him being on the planning commission. It's not about the individual. It's just about the process that we were trying to, it's a new process. We're trying to develop it. I don't think it has been fulfilled for this cycle.
Okay, well, if we
It
haven't
doesn't
met
answer my question.
Well, yeah, there would probably be a vacancy for a meeting, maybe, until we
Okay,
get to do
all
it
right,
next
but they
time.
have enough people.
Yeah, they have enough people.
Okay. that was the
So
question.
we can table this one if we haven't met our requirements. Heidi, do you have something to add to this?
Heidi due to White River Junction, Vermont. Is it possible for the board to give an extension of maybe a month? And then put the position up for everyone to see the vacancies?
Oh.
So that the board still has an odd number, so there won't be a tied vote?
I have no idea.
I mean, I don't know. We usually approve these for the set term. You know, I think we just table it until we've met the time requirements, and that's probably till the next meeting, and then we vote on it.
Could you look into an exception possibly of extending him for a month? He does very well on the board. He has a lot of knowledge.
I don't think we've ever really done that, and I don't know that we want to start right now without really putting any thought into it.
And do we know even if we can?
Yeah. Right. that's-
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. Again, absent any comment from Lana, I suppose the safe course is to table it for the time being, and we can get back to the drawing board. Roll it out again.
I just noticed, I just checked on the minutes of the planning commission. It does list the dates of expiration, and Mr. Dayman's expiration date is June 28th, 2024. So we would have our June 25th meeting before his expiration of his
Okay.
term.
But that doesn't leave enough time to fulfill this new not theory, but you know, what,
The 30 days.
yeah.
It does because
If it
it's
has not
basically,
been posted yet, then.
But it
that's
sounds
not
like
gonna
it-
do it.
Kim?
I think she was talking.
can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, so the committee, basically it says at minimum by the 15th and the 28th of each month, the town of Hartford shall post the openings list on the Hartford listserv, town website, official town Facebook and Twitter accounts. The openings list should include a hyperlink or website address to the corresponding committee webpage on the town of Hartford website. Additional outreach may occur by word of mouth, email outreach, other appropriate. So I think that if we weren't, like, I think it was posted at least once. Like, I think if we post it one more time, then that would satisfy my concerns.
So we got a whole lot of what we don't know. Is that right? This might have been posted, it might not have been. So I don't know how we go forward
So
with that
I
without
think, well,
endlessly being in this cycle.
I think we table it and then find out whether it was posted. If it was posted, if it wasn't posted for the full 30 days, we'll allow it to stay up until we reach the 30 days. That's by next meeting. We can vote on it then. If it's another meeting, we'll vote afterwards. All right.
Seems like a prudent thing to do.
Okay, so we'll table that and we'll go to town manager's report.
Mr. Chairman, point of order, not related to this. We have participants online on Zoom who do not have their name listed, either their first name or their last name, and I will not recognize them as having a hand up if they do not have their first name or their last name recognized. So
Okay,
whoever's
so-
online on Zoom, you need to have your first name, last name available, please.
If you're online on Zoom, please put some identifying characteristic like your first name. And we can call in. John, will go to town manager's report.
Yes, and I'll just hit a couple of time-sensitive highlights.
Thank you.
We had spoken about the public safety and community safety survey that is out and available for people to fill out through the end of June. Again, this group, Strategy Matters, that the town has hired to conduct this survey, the study, will be in town next week on Juneteenth and the following day for several events. Again, cited on this flyer that's posted on the website and listserv. Speaking of safety, I would like to thank the police chief, the fire chief, and the dispatch supervisor for providing several select board members with an excellent tour of the public safety complex on June 5th. I'd also like to thank Dana Clausen, our environmental sustainability coordinator, for providing his thoughts on energy-related infrastructure. We're working on providing additional tour opportunities, so stay tuned. Juneteenth is approaching next Wednesday. It will be a town holiday. It is a town holiday, and therefore offices will be closed on Wednesday, June 19th. However, the town hall will be the site of a block party running from 5 o'clock to, I believe, 8 p.m. Again, here at the town offices and outdoors in the parking lot. As requested by several people, I have worked with the internet, IT folks, and they have provided email aliases to several department heads who can now be reached in a more intuitive fashion online than they may have been in the past. So while you may still reach me at jhaverstock@hartford-vt.org, you can also reach me at manager@hartford-vt.org. Similarly, Lisa O'Neill can be reached at clerk. Joe Major can be reached at treasurer. Paula Nolte can be reached at HR. Gail Ostrow and her colleague Flo can be reached at finance. And the folks at DPW can be reached at dpw@hartford-vt.org. Hopefully that'll make it easier for people to reach us one way or the other. In terms of the SIGEX, there's just a couple things I'd like to point out. First, the second and third floor heat pump system is back up and running, thanks to Dana for overseeing the work with the consultant to fix several leaks in our system a week or two ago. I'd also like to highlight one other thing, which is that after a preliminary review of the Fire Station 2 project application with the planning board, the fire department returned to the design phase of the project to meet the expectations of Act 250 requirements. Studio Nexus provided additional construction design options, and after a review of these designs by our construction manager, Estes and Gallup, we are moving forward with a 2-story design on the Wells Road side of the building. The construction manager believes this revised design and construction can still be completed within the authorized funding. Thank you.
Questions for John?
One more plug if I could.
Okay, great.
The town and school meeting committee is down to 1 member after several retirements or resignations. Adam Ricker is still guiding the ship, as it were, but we're anxious to have applicants either proposed by the town or the school board to serve on that 4-person committee, which essentially works to publicize and provide logistical support for town meeting relating activities every year. So if you're interested at all, let the town manager or the school superintendent know. We'd be pleased to hear from you.
Okay, thanks, John. Okay, any questions for John again?
Sorry, just to clarify, that committee is for coordinating between the select board and the school board, or? is that-
It's got appointees from both the town and the school board, 2 from each, now that the charter revision has passed. And so we have 1 member of the newly reduced 4-person committee, and we're anxious to fill that as we can.
I see, okay.
I did to fill you in a little bit of that.
Yeah.
It is not a committee. The objective of the committee is to facilitate the putting together of the meetings, joint meetings between the school board and the town board, the select board. Basically, they deal with the town meeting that we have, the events leading up to town meeting, such as the budget presentation and surrounding that. That's what their goal is, or their charge is, to take care of that. So nothing to do with actual governance or deliberation. They're just basically in charge of setting up those kind of things.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Sorry, John, I didn't mean to.
No, that's absolutely right.
Thank you, John, for your report. All right, so our next item is.
I've got my hand up.
Oh, okay, Kim.
Sorry. That's okay. I also just wanted to add, probably should have done this in select board comments, but kind of to jump on to John's comments about Juneteenth. I also want to just remind folks that on June 22nd, there's the Hartford Alumni Parade and barbecue in the morning and lunchtime. And then at Lyman Point Park on June 22nd is the Juneteenth celebration. That's a collaboration between the towns of Hartford and Lebanon and the Hartford Committee on Racial Equity and Inclusion from 2 to 4 p.m. So hope folks can join for that.
Okay, thank you, Kim. All right, we'll now go to the revaluation update. This is from our assessor, Rick Vincent, and John Vickery, who's the project supervisor from Tyler Technologies. So this is an informational item only, so we'll turn it over to you two. Or
Right here, or?
probably easiest next to the town manager.
Yeah. Rick can join you if you'd like to.
Like you said, 2 minutes for these. 2 minutes for agenda items? Yeah. Just gonna reset it now, so.
Thank you for your time tonight. I'm John Vickery, the Senior Project Supervisor for this project, which is underway right now. I'd like to give you an update as to what is going on. We've had staff here for the last several weeks. We did some preliminary work, putting a basic market report together for you. This reappraisal was mandated by the state of Vermont. And so we're going to abide by the rules of the state of Vermont, as well as the International Association of Assessing Officers, their guidelines as well for regarding equity on all the properties. And finally, this reappraisal will have to pass a test with the state tax department. Typically, what we've done in the past is we've run those tests ahead of time, so we will know ahead of time that we are going to pass those tests. But the staff has been working, and they've been taking photos of many homes. I believe that they're at about 57% finished, as well as they have been conducting what we call a pre-review, and that is looking at homes, not just homes, but all properties, and the record card, reviewing that along while they are out on site. At this point, they're doing that from the road. They're not knocking on doors at this point. That's coming down the road. Is there anything you'd like to say, Rick? Or,
Nope.
I mean, I could go on if you'd like.
It's up to you, and then we'll take the questions from the board.
Could also answer some questions. This project is a fun project because we're going to be doing what we call sketch detection. And there's an imaging part to all of this, and modern technology allows you to overlay sketches over photos, and it'll detect whether a house or a building is measured incorrectly. And then those corrections can be made on site, well, I should say in front of the computer with LiDAR. It's very accurate, and it's a wonderful new technique that we like to use at all of our projects. We probably will in the future because that's the way this technology is going. Just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. So we're going to dive deeper into the analysis over the next several months as we finish up our sales review. Rick has been very helpful at providing us with sales, and Rick has been very active also with those sales. The staff is doing a pre-review of all the sold properties, and then we will receive those sold properties, and we will review each and every single one of them as well on top of that. And then we will put that into our analysis, what we call our equity measures in mass, and we will be adjusting all of the tables that we have in the system that are outdated at this point. I'm open for questions now. Thank you.
Questions for John from the board or for Rick? Brandon Lanning.
Hi, I'm somewhat familiar with measuring structures with LiDAR. I do it sometimes as a part of my work. I make estimates for home renovations and use this, it's over my phone, honestly, and it makes a nice little plan of the inside of a house or whatnot. But I know that the products I've been using are not good for construction. They're only really good to within a couple inches. And I just feel like sometimes I was wanting to inquire about what product you're using or what software and sort of like what precision it goes to, because I know there are varying levels of that. And this seems like a fairly important project to be precise with.
Certainly. First off, there's imaging that has been taken with planes flying over the entire area of this area, as well as surrounding communities. And those images are, they're mosaic together. And my understanding is that it was sub 3 inches. And what they can do is when they expand those images, they take the sketches that are within the system and they overlay them, and it'll tell whether there's a match or a high degree of variability. And then from that, corrections can be made. It's a sketch detection software. In addition, there is LiDAR that you're probably more familiar with. I've used it in other locations where you can measure a point to a point on an image. And I find that to be very accurate within inches. And typically in the sketch of a house is measured to the foot. In other words, there's a rounding depending on if it's a little bit more than 6 inches, it'll get rounded up. If it's a little bit less than 6 inches, rounded down. And honestly, there's been some studies in Connecticut where LiDAR measuring and measuring is more accurate than tape measure and walking around the house.
Nate?
Mr. Chairman, yeah. So just, John, just for full disclosure, for the board members and for the town of Hartford, understand that Rick used to work for Tyler Technologies in the past. And I think full disclosure is necessary for board members that don't understand that, or the general public, if you could just disclose what that working relationship was between the two of you, and if there's any potential conflict of interest that arises out of your firm being chosen for this.
Thank you for bringing that up. That's a good one. I did not know Rick before we put in this offer, this bid. And so there's no connection as far as I know. And you, from my understanding, you worked for Tyler about 20 years ago, or?
Right. I left 22 years ago. And to my knowledge, best of my knowledge, nobody that I worked with at Tyler is still employed.
I don't have a problem with it. I just want to make sure that the members of the board and the general public understand that there's no working relationship between our consultant and our current assessor that might spill over into something now. So I just want to make sure we have disclosure among residents.
Thank you for bringing that up. I just want to make one little minor point. You probably worked with them when they were Coley or Trumbull and they were purchased by Tyler.
Right. Yeah. It was Coley or Trumbull. And right about the time I left, it was purchased by Tyler.
Again, I have no issues. I just want to make sure it's disclosed.
This was disclosed, I think, in our initial selection.
Rick went out of his way to point it out.
Yeah.
Can I ask just about your schedule? Is your work on schedule as outlined in your proposal?
We are on schedule and we're going to finish on time. I'm absolutely certain of that. I do want to make up another point. We do have what we call a microsite, which is attached to the assessor's office website that has a area for frequently asked questions, has videos. It has a basic calendar of events that the public would want to know. And it's really an introduction of our company. We're all over the United States, part of the Northeast Division. And I'm really the point person in Vermont.
Well, I just want to know if we're going to go into more. I mean, it states that he's here to explain the market analysis. I don't know if we're going to go into individual markets or.
And they've all been given your slide deck. I don't know if you.
I'm fine with it, but in general public, I'm just.
If you want to talk about us a little bit about what you're finding thus far.
Sure. There's a lot more analysis to do, obviously, and it goes as deep as reviewing every single sale, removing the sales that were not what we call arm's length or have special circumstances. We will remove those and just keep the core ones. Then we're going to spend some time on doing inspections of those properties as well as just making sure that the data is accurate, because the sales are what set the valuation tables that end up getting applied to the unsold properties, which is most properties. We started off as a general look. We look back. I believe in this project we look back to 2019 and looked at the market moving forward. Obviously, in 2019 to 2020, we had like 16% appreciation, and then from 2020 to 2021, it was I think it was just a little over 20% appreciation. Crazy. And then the market has softened, but still pretty robust. It was down to like 10%. And then this past year it was 6.5%, I believe, or maybe 7%. So that's still quite vigorous. A 4% is more normal. But we have been in this robust period of market, and there's fewer sales for sale, for your properties for sale, I should say, which is keeping that supply tight and pushing that market, continuing to pushing that market up. I believe that mortgage rates being where they are at has helped the supply, or slowed the buyer side, I should say. This is really about the residential market. Other markets work a little bit differently, but there's some correlation between apartments, rents, and real estate. Maybe I should just mention, go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry, one more thing.
Yep.
Do you have anything posted anywhere right now on properties that you've closed the evaluation process on?
No, we haven't closed on any properties, and we won't do that for a while.
Okay.
We're not going to do a few here and a few there, because I look at it as a working draft up until the point before we have what we call informal hearings. And when we set those hearings up, it'll be the opportunity of the public to meet with us and do a review of their property. So at that point, before that, we'll send out some notices to folks, and they will contact us, and we will hear every single person that wants to hear us. We'll have a team of people doing those hearings.
And the foreseen timetable for that is when?
That'll be in February. Yes, February. February is
thank you.
the date on that. It's on the calendar as well.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Yep.
Mary?
Yeah, I have a quick question. And I fully disclose that some of this is a little bit gobbledygook, but most of it is pretty understandable. I just had a question about the residential monthly rent with utilities included on your table. And it says it's for Hartford, and goes studio, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, 4 bedroom. And the change from 2021, like say the studio 2021 to 2024 is 45% change, and it goes down from there. Do you analyze that as there's a higher demand for studio and people are raising the rentals on them? But so I was trying to figure out why it was so high for studios and then it goes down from there. Or does that just mean we have a lot more single individuals rather than people who are couples or sharing or larger families?
Yeah, the trend has been to live in without having roommates. And so that's pushed up demand with a lack of supply. And this is not uncommon. Why I know this is because I've worked in other areas and I've studied this, and I'm a landlord myself. So I understand a little bit about this market. And this is really just a survey directly from the HUD,
right,
fair market rents. We'll do an internal study. We'll send out what we call income and expense forms to all the businesses, pull them together. We'll separate the apartments from the other types of properties, and we'll run an internal analysis. We'll create tables for that and apply those tables to the property values. And we'll also develop from the market, of course, capitalization rates, expense ratios, and so forth. And we'll put it all together and apply it uniformly to properties.
Right. Thank you.
Welcome. Any other questions for John, for Rick. Kim, do you have any questions?
I'm good, thank you.
There's no other hands up.
Okay. Well, thanks very much for coming in. I know this is a huge undertaking and we appreciate the update. And we'll continue to look forward to hearing.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Very much. Okay. Our next item is the Quechee Leachfield 5E replacement. We have Chris. Maybe
Right.
So I'll just turn it over to you guys when you're ready.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you, John.
You guys are ready.
All right, I'll kick this off. So a little bit of an overview. It's come to my attention, several people didn't realize that we own leach fields. So in Quechee, when we took over the private systems, we inherited half a dozen to a dozen leach fields that are covered by indirect discharge permits. That means that we're permitted for more than 6,500 gallons per day. They're quite old at this point, and they're mostly pretty well worn out. We also inherited some that are smaller than that. So the indirect discharge permit ones get inspected yearly by a third party. And that's required by the state, and those reports go on to the state. State also comes in and inspects them themselves at different times. This particular one had signs of failure dating back into the teens. It's been on a watch list, needed to be deemed a failure pretty much in 2019. We undertook engineering on it, which proved to be a very long, drawn out permanent process. What we've come up with for solution based on the land that's there is ripping it out, the leach field that's there, and doing additional testing to get back all of the capacity. And then in the one spot that is available today, doing a site modification and building a leach field that will handle the existing collection system and its infiltration amount and the developed lots. That'll get us out of a violation with the state of Vermont. So it took a long time to get the permit. Inflation catches up with you, unfortunately, in this environment. So we have put together, working with the finance department, funding sources because it outstripped what we were originally setting aside. And we've found savings here and there, put it together. So it is fully funded. I will tell you that there is a developer working on the Quechee lots, and I can't answer a lot of questions about Quechee right now because we actually don't have all the records to what's out there. And so over the coming year, we hope to learn a lot more about some of the leach fields and what they're originally permitted for and get a handle on it. But to date, nobody's been able to track it all down. Even on microfilm at the state of Vermont. So you're talking about, these are some of the original Act 250 lots. There were no computers, if you're lucky, it got on microfilm. If it's too big, we don't know where the record is. It didn't get microfilmed. So that's most of the maps. So anyway, that's a little bit of side history. This leach field, I'm sure y'all read it. We need a budget about $180,000 to include some contingencies for unknowns. It is subsurface work, and we do expect maybe one or two problems with manholes and lines coming at the leach field. So we expect to use the money. Is there any questions? It's a necessity.
Yeah, questions?
Yeah, I can only assume that this is not the end of Safford Road off of Quechee West Hartford. It's the other end of Safford Road, correct?
Right. It's go up Willard Road.
Okay, that's what I said.
And go down, and then there's two ways to the leach field through the woods. It's not just at the
It's
end
not
of
the
road.
one like when you go up the top of the hill, you go almost like right and it's right in there. Is that great big one that's down there? Is that one?
So go down the hill,
Yeah.
Willard Road to the fork of Safford Road,
Yeah. Oh, you're right.
take a left
Oh, left, okay.
and take that path down into the woods.
Okay,
And this
yeah.
one sits above the one where if you go down
Yeah. I know
East
the other one.
Fisher and go up.
Okay, thank you. I
Yeah.
know we're both there.
And I will tell you, I expect some bad news in the next set of reports that are going to come to us any day now. So this is something we'll be discussing out in Quechee for some time to come.
Can you go further into explaining what it is about the leach field itself that's deteriorated? Is it the tiles that's deteriorated or what is it? that's
So no, it's the soils have failed in it. So it's not just the biomat, the actual soils are failed below the biomat even. The fields are well over 40 plus years old. I mean, they're extended and they're just concrete chambers. There's no technology out there. It's a septic tank and an old fashioned siphon. Siphons are notorious failures. They don't work all the time and you don't know because they just keep dribbling it out. I don't want to get into how it fails, but because that'll take all night.
So it was not built in the traditional sense of a residential leach field. It was not built with.
It's not built. It's not built today's standards. It's dropped some concrete chambers in the ground to hold the effluent as it goes into the ground. I mean, it's older technology. What we're going to put in today is a Presby system, if you've heard of those. So, and we're going to have a pre-treatment filter above it. So it's going to be well filtered, and then it's going to actually in the leach field. It's going to have biological chemistry going on. The bugs are going to have the oxygen. They're going to eat up what's left of solid waste.
And then one other question I guess I have is, what's the plan to provide septic services for the residents that are on it while this?
So the way we've designed it or had it designed is it's phased. So this actually gets completely built. It's in the one spot that's available. The old system stays online, the new chamber, everything goes in place. And then it's just a matter of you put a test ball in the existing tank, you have a quick shutdown, you hook it up and you're in.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Any other questions for Brian or Chris?
I'm ready to make a motion if there are no other questions. Okay, make a motion. Make a motion, the select board authorize the town manager to execute a contract with Knott's Excavating Incorporated for $150,765 and to approve any necessary and reasonable change orders up to a maximum additional amount of $15,235 for a total project budget of $180,000.
Okay, we have a motion from Lanny. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Sue. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
All right, our next item is a purchasing policy exception for the Maple Street pump purchase. We got Brian for that one. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
So we'll go to the other end of the other wastewater treatment plant. So this is the Maple Street pump station. It has two pumps in it. Now pump stations move the sanitary stuff to get to the wastewater treatment plant. So due to elevation or changes or whatever like that. So a lot of the pump stations, when they were rebuilt, a couple of decades ago, you put a whole system in, a component from a company. And this one, we have a lot of them. It's called Flight. So it's not just the pumps. We also have the control panels in there, and actually the wells are built around the system. So this is where, when we go to replace these, we have to have, like now, this pump that's failed, that's 18 years old. We just can't go out and buy another, like a Gould pump or something like that without doing major type of rehabbing. Control panels would have to be changed. So this is where we just have to, we're sort of stuck with going with this vendor. So we've put it together. We actually provided the service report to you. To repair this pump would have cost $31,000 compared to buying it brand new for $24,000. So with the purchasing policy having a $20,000 limit, we just have to get your approval to purchase it and move it on. And, knock on wood, this has been offline since last November. We just need to get this pump back online as quickly as possible.
Any questions? Lanny?
What is the life expectancy of a new Flight pump?
You know, Lanny, I off the top of my head, I can't tell you. This one lasted 18 years.
What's their warranty?
Pardon?
What is their warranty?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to we'll get that information. I don't know off the top of my head, but yeah.
I understand
Yeah.
that there's cost involved with putting in for a different style of pump. Like, I don't know if Grundfos makes pumps like this. Grundfos is my personal choice. But if the cost were to be just significantly higher to get a pump with longer warranty or longevity, or is it even possible?
Well, to reconfigure the control panel and everything, we're talking a lot of money. Lanny,
So we're locked into
using till we go to to rehab this thing at some point later down the road. We're locked into flight for this right now. So, the information they provided with it, they do have a pro maintenance plan that I'm going to talk to the guys at the plant about to include that in there. Well, they'll come out annually and do PM maintenance on that. So hopefully that will extend the longevity of the pump over time.
I just find it, I know it's not your fault. I'm not blaming you. I find it difficult to believe that we're stranglehold by manufacturing a pump just because of the operation systems, such as we are here at the town hall with the LG.
Well,
and again, it's not your fault.
No, we had the same thing at the aquatic center when I first started last year. Champlain came in to take a look at it, for them to go through and have to rewire the whole control panel and do everything they needed to do. It was like a $7,000 pump. We would have been adding, I think, like 20-some thousand dollars just them to come in and rewire all the electric.
Just like Apple, you're stranglehold to the system.
So
thank you.
It's, this is not unusual. I dealt with this many, many years ago in other places I've been. Once you get a Gould or a flight system in there, you're sort of locked into them. So.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions for Brian? Okay, we have a recommended motion.
Lynn, I'll make a motion in case unless anybody else wants to. It's not a pretty thing you're gonna talk about, but make a motion. We recommend, that we waive section 5.0 of the purchasing policy. Xylem Water Solutions USA is a sole source vendor for flight pump in the New England region, and approve the Director of Public Works to execute the purchasing order from Xylem Water Solutions USA dated April 17th, 2024 in the amount of $24,147.50.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second the
We have a
motion.
second from Mary. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Brian. All right.
We take a break.
Yeah, let's take a 5-minute break and we'll come back to consider the resolution. We'll be back in 5.
He's got a nickname.
Make sure that
Nick.
Kim is back on. Okay, well, we're back. Our next item is a discussion of the Gaza ceasefire resolution. This was presented to the board on the 28th of May, and so we've had that in our agendas since then. I think we're all familiar with it. I believe the discussion last time, some concerns were raised and the sponsors would like to address those. Then if there's public comment, people can comment publicly. They'll each have 2 minutes. And then the board, if there's a motion in a second, we'll vote on it. If not, we'll move on to our other items. So I will turn it over to.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
What?
There was not a vote warned. You have continued discussion, but you did not warn a vote.
Well, I think the idea is if we want the vote.
It was not warned as a vote. It was only warned as a discussion item.
I certainly intended
Yeah.
that this would be a discussion, and I think everybody understood that the expectation would be that the board would take a position on it.
Yeah.
If it's not worded properly, I certainly apologize, but I thought that was everybody's intention.
The only problem I have is that I see, I should say, is that you have other members of the community who are not knowing that it's a vote that may want to be here if there was a vote. And that wasn't stated that way.
Well, for example, there's several items even in tonight's meeting agenda that don't discuss a vote. But one, for example, dealt with approving the leach field replacement and for an exception to the purchase policy, but neither of those contain language suggesting that there would be a vote on the matter.
But there is
On the
There weren't
28th,
votes on it.
on the 28th, we had a request from the sponsors to postpone a vote until this meeting on the 11th. I think it was understood by everyone because we want to hear from the people and we want to either take action or not on this and move on to other select board items. So I think if we get a motion in a second, we can vote on it. If no one makes a motion or we don't get a second to a motion, then we move on. But certainly we'll give some time to the sponsors to follow up from their concerns from the meeting of the 28th.
There's no motion within our minutes, Mr. Chair.
I didn't hear what you said.
Anyone here?
There's no
Please.
motion within our minutes, within our agenda. There's no motion, proposed motion.
That's okay. Anyone can make a motion anytime under our rules of procedure. And we'll, if someone does, we'll take it up when that happens. So please, sir, come on up.
Yeah, hi, thanks for hearing me. My name's Tim O'Hara. I'm from Wilder. I'm here to speak in favor of this resolution. I wasn't part of writing it. I'm late to this effort, but they've asked me to say a few words to try to address some of the concerns that were brought up at the meeting last time and to explain our rationale for why we're here appealing to you. One of the comments that I've heard from the community is a suggestion that we should be writing to our Congress people about issues of foreign policy, not talking to the select board. Well, most of us have done that. And we're here because our concerns have been ignored and we still feel that moral imperative to our demands from what we're witnessing in Gaza today. Seems like our Congress and Senate are so divided along partisan lines that they're non-functional, and the only thing they agree on is unconditional support of Israel, even in the face of genocide. And they've gone as far as to extend an invitation to Netanyahu to speak before a joint session of Congress, even as the International Criminal Court has petitioned for him to be arrested for war crimes. And this consensus is held despite all indications that a solid majority of this country feels that Israel has gone too far in this war and that they want a ceasefire. So we feel compelled to find a way to be heard by whatever means are available to us. And more to the urgency of what's going on and some of the problems with that were expressed with the wording of the resolution. Idam Wasornu, the Director of Operations and Advocacy for the UN Office of the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, last month said, "We are running out of words to describe what is happening in Gaza. We have described it as a catastrophe, a nightmare, as hell on earth. It is all of these and worse.
Mr. Chair.
This is part of the presentation, not the public comment to the agenda item. We mentioned that.
So why did you say that?
So after that was part of the introduction. Please continue, Mr. O'Hara.
All right, thanks. So hopefully we can extend a little understanding to the writers of this resolution if you feel that their language isn't quite right. Even the experienced people at the world's major humanitarian organizations are struggling to express just how bad this situation is. You don't have to take our word for it. You can listen to every major human rights organization and humanitarian organization in the world. Healthcare workers in Gaza today have had to create a new acronym for one category of case that they see often. WCNSF stands for Wounded Child, No Surviving Family. Think about that and the future that our tax dollars are creating for these kids. We can't fall back on the argument that this is a conflict, a remote conflict that doesn't involve us, because we fund it with our tax dollars. We provide Israel with diplomatic protection, and we allow them to continue to act with impunity. Excuse me. Just this weekend, the New York Times reported that the US was providing logistical support from US military personnel on the ground in Israel for a hostage rescue operation that killed more than 200 Palestinian civilians. That's beyond complicity. We're directly involved. I want to move to one final point. To our resolution called for an end to arms transfers and arms embargo on Israel. Vermont's own Senator Leahy, one of the greatest achievements of his political career, was the amendments that he passed as part of the Foreign Assistance Act that explicitly prohibit military assistance to foreign militaries that violate human rights with impunity. So every bit of military funding that goes to Israel today is in violation of federal law on the books, if it was applied honestly and consistently. And Leahy, for the last 20 years of his career, he pled with successive administrations to apply the laws consistently to Israel and was not successful. I'm asking that we continue his effort to fulfill the vision of a foreign policy that respected human rights. And thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. There's public comment on this. People can come to the microphone and identify themselves.
There's actually a sheet where people don't present.
Oh, okay.
But the next person is on Zoom.
Bridget?
I can wait.
They have a reasonable amount of time to present. And if that's fine, look, we're gonna hear them out, and then we're gonna hear from everyone else, okay? And then we're gonna either do.
Point of order, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman. In the past, if we've had a group of individuals that have come before this board, there's been a spokesman for that group of individuals that's come before the board. We've heard from a spokesman. Now, if we're going to hear from multiple spokesmen, we need to know how many spokesmen we're supposed to be listening for.
We heard from multiple spokespeople from the same group at a meeting on the 28th. So
We
I don't
limited
see
their
that there's
time,
really
we
a
limited their
problem.
time to 5 minutes. We have a.
I would like to know how many more speakers there are, and I would ask that you complete your presentation, since we did hear from you on the 28th, in about 10 minutes, if that's possible. Okay.
The next speaker is on Zoom.
Okay, can you tell us the name of the speaker?
Bridget Ambrose is on Zoom.
Okay, Nick, if we can bring
So
her
it's gonna be
over.
another 10 minutes before I can speak.
Yes, we'll let you know when you can speak.
Why we have policies.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can, okay, cool. Sorry, I'm on Zoom because I'm sick. I hope I'm not losing my voice too much. Yeah, I'm gonna try to keep this brief for that reason. But I just wanted to take a minute to address two specific concerns that came up in meetings with various board members since the 28th about like the specific content of the resolution. The first issue concerns our use of the word genocide to describe the atrocities that are currently being committed in Gaza. I just wanted to clarify that when we use that word in the resolution, we are basing that off the definition of genocide laid out in Article 2 of the 1948 United Nations Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, which the United States has ratified. In that convention, in the UN definition, there are 5 possible criteria for genocide that are listed. Only one of them needs to be met for something to legally qualify as genocide. And I think it's fair to say that what the Israeli army has been doing in Gaza over the past months with US money and diplomatic backing easily qualifies for at least 3 of the 5. In addition to this, the International Court of Justice has ruled that it is plausible that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza. And for context, in the context of this case, there was not an available legal path for the court to definitively declare this genocide. It was simply ruling on whether or not the claim of genocide was plausible, and it determined that it was. And so it's in this context that we as a group feel comfortable using the word genocide in the resolution. Another concern we encountered was the resolution calling for an arms embargo on Israel. I think Tim spoke before me about the US's obligations under the Leahy Law, which I too think are extremely pertinent. But I also want to note that according to the ICJ, signing the 1948 Genocide Convention, which again the United States has done, means that a country has an obligation under international law not only to not commit genocide as defined in the convention, but also to prevent other states from doing so. This is another reason that I believe an arms embargo on Israel is not only justified, but also the only way for us to comply with international law. And then beyond our obvious legal obligations, I feel it is important that this resolution focus on our role in these atrocities as US citizens and taxpayers. And while I obviously think there is value in Hartford just like calling for peace, I don't think that is as meaningful as directly addressing our government's role in this conflict. Because at the end of the day, none of us are constituents of any of the parties that are like actually killing people or making these policies decisions on the ground in Gaza, but we are constituents of the party that is providing the vast majority of the weapons that are being used to indiscriminately bomb civilians. We are the constituents of one of the governments who cut funding to an aid organization that is responsible for feeding, educating, providing healthcare to millions of vulnerable stateless people. These actions, I believe, are things that we have to hold our government accountable for. Yeah, and for this reason, I think it's vitally important that Hartford calls for an arms embargo and the restoration of UNRWA funding in addition to just a ceasefire. Thank you. I'll let the next speaker go now.
Good evening. My name is Lucy Danger and I live in White River Junction. The last time I was at this podium, I spoke to you about the importance of distinguishing anti-Zionism from anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism, targeted attacks upon Jewish people, is contextualized within the inextricable nature of all forms of oppression. And my work in support of Palestine is necessarily an anti-racist movement, which of course includes opposing all acts of anti-Semitism. Anti-Zionism, however, opposes the ideology that prioritizes the named existence of an Israeli ethno-state over the livelihood, safety, and culture of millions of indigenous Palestinians. Jewish people often reach for Zionism in response to the real threats to their safety around the world. But I believe that Jewish people deserve safety, community, and belonging everywhere. All of these struggles are connected, and our resistance to these dangerous ideologies must treat them as such. The increases in all of these forms of oppression have had a direct impact in our communities. Over the past 2 weeks, I have been deeply disheartened by the resistance to supporting this resolution expressed by some board members. I do not understand why it is so difficult for all of you to, without hesitation, condemn genocide in your capacity as town representatives or otherwise. I want to be part of a town whose residents are engaged with dialogue about this issue and whose local politicians have no hesitation when it comes to condemning genocide. Per the encouragement of board members, our group held an educational discussion group this past Friday night about the resolution. Since most of the board did not attend, I want to share with you that many of the residents there expressed confusion, surprise, and frustration that their elected officials had shown so much resistance to supporting this resolution. We have nearly 300 signatures from residents who want the board to vote for this resolution. Dozens of people have shared their words in support via our online petition or email. We are here as Hartford residents and your constituents, asking you to represent us and the other people who want you to support this resolution on behalf of the town. The more pushback I have heard from board members, the less represented I feel by you. You seem to be prioritizing an invisible majority of people whom you fear might not support this resolution at the expense of the large group of people standing before you for the second time in 2 weeks, asking you to represent us. I fail to understand how one can believe that what we are doing in Gaza is egregious, but not take every opportunity possible to decry these atrocities. Board members and everyone here tonight, I ask you to consider your personhood and what you are saying about Hartford when you vote or think about this resolution. There is no neutrality. We cannot separate this issue from others that are important to our community. Genocide is everyone's business, and any suggestion that it is not comes from a narrow-minded and dangerous ideology. This genocide will end. Israeli apartheid will end. It has been so normalized for so long that we have learned to ignore what is being done. Israeli and now American forces are killing children in cold blood with no accountability. They are wiping off the world entire families with PR as the only cover. Any potential backlash we as Americans might face for speaking up is incomparable to what is being done with our tax dollars as the world watches. If you want to support human rights, if you want to condemn these atrocities, this is your opportunity.
Okay, hi everyone, Molly Armbrust, West Hartford, and I am recovering from the cold that I gave Bridget, so bear with me as my voice is a little shaky. Okay, so many of you know me as a member of H. Corey, and though I am not here in that capacity today, I do want to take a moment to speak to how this proposed resolution connects to racial equity more broadly. The modern state of Israel was founded in the wake of the Nakba, the Arabic word for catastrophe, in which 700,000 Palestinians were violently displaced from their homes in a manner that is chillingly reminiscent to our own country's history of violence against and forced relocation of various groups of indigenous North Americans, something which now, with centuries of hindsight, is widely condemned and understood to be deeply racist and morally reprehensible. 19 years later, in 1967, an additional 300,000 Palestinians were forced from their homes as the state of Israel occupied and annexed more Palestinian land. Today, virtually all Palestinian territories are functionally controlled by Israel, which strips them of their civil rights and limits their freedom of movement in a way that has been accurately compared to apartheid South Africa, another thing which most of us, in hindsight, consider racist and morally reprehensible. The indiscriminate violence being perpetrated in Gaza right now, which is grossly disproportionate to the scale of the attack it is supposedly in response to, is an extension of this long history of racist colonial violence, displacement, and dehumanization. Racism is also clearly evident in the US's response to the current Israeli offensive. I have been horrified over these past 8 months to see such blatant disregard for Palestinian life in Western media and conversations, and rhetoric that seems to imply it is a crime to exist as a Palestinian male between the ages of 10 and 70. This rhetoric follows a familiar pattern of racist justification of violence committed against non-white bodies. Does the way our media has covered the recent violence in Gaza ring any bells for you about the rhetoric used to justify the murders of Trayvon Martin or Tamir Rice in the United States? It does for me. I share all this to make it explicitly clear that this is an issue of racism, full stop, and we are all implicated in it. By not taking a stand against this and doing everything in our power to end this senseless killing, we are part of the problem. To all of you, but especially those of you who have committed yourselves to anti-racism, I implore you to vote in support of this resolution. As white anti-racism and equity advocates, it is our responsibility to be co-conspirators, not just allies. This means taking an active, not a passive role in justice. It is not enough to state your sadness at the plight of the Gazan Palestinian people, make vague calls for world peace, or express your personal, but not professional, support of this resolution. This is your chance to take action, to stand up for racial equity and human rights, and to be part of change. Equity work is not comfortable nor safe, but it is absolutely necessary.
So please, in the words of Dr. Bettina Love, put something on the line. I'm honestly saddened by how politicized this issue has become. We can so easily fall into debates about relevance to town business and the impact of town ceasefire resolutions. But this is a human issue, and so it is to that piece that I speak today. Let us remember that as we speak, our fellow humans in Gaza are living in constant fear. Those who have survived this far are starving, injured, displaced, and under constant threat of death. They are living in an apartheid state that denies them their innate right to basic humanity. So I implore you to act in accordance with your humanity and empathy. We all know this is wrong, so please play your part in bringing it to an end. I ask that you apply the same thinking and commitment to justice that you bring to explicitly local concerns to this issue. I ask that you vote in support of humanity and against racist brutality. It really is that simple. I will end by reminding us all that when we look back at history, it is nearly always those who speak out against war and the oppressive status quo, not those who are silently complicit in it, who age well in history. This is your chance to be on the right side of history. So thank you, and that sort of concludes the presentation piece of this. So I guess we'll move on to public comment.
Thank you very much. All right, so we'll open it up to public comment. If anyone would like to comment on this, you'll have 2 minutes to comment. And please make sure to identify.
We do have one attendee on, 2 attendees online that have their hands up.
Yeah, we'll hear from people in the room first. then we'll
Just
hear-
letting you know, Mr. Chairman.
My name is Carol Lane. I live in White River Junction. I certainly appreciate and probably agree with all of you. The problem I have is, as a resident of the town of Hartford, I look at what our position is. My position is to come to you. Your position is to take care of the town of Hartford. And if I have a problem on a national level, then what my job is to contact my congressman. I am very concerned that if the Hartford Selectboard gets involved with the resolution for this, that we will then be asked for other things that actually are not our responsibility, but our government's. And where does that leave to the town of Hartford? We have, I know they sound very small compared to what they're, we have things like Gate Street needs to be repaired. I am very pleased that you have helped people to make apartment buildings with a combination of low income and high income or higher income. I am very pleased that you support the Haven. Those are the issues that we can address. The people at the next government level are the ones who are addressing this issue. So anyway, to round it up, my problem is not that I disagree with everything that's been said, but are we as a select board responsible for national issues? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next person, make sure to identify yourself and your town, village of residence. Go ahead.
I'm waiting. Thank you. Okay.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Becca Shooked. I'm a resident in White River Junction and an organizer with the Vermont Workers Center and the Vermont Poor People's Campaign. I am here both as a Hartford resident and also as someone organizing to end poverty and to urge the select board to pass this resolution. Today, our country prioritizes funding a genocide against the Palestinian people over addressing crises like healthcare, housing, and rising costs of living. In Hartford, we see homelessness, food insecurity, and lack of access to healthcare firsthand. As poverty kills 800 people a day in the United States, our government chooses to enrich weapons manufacturers and investors who go on to kill tens of thousands in Palestine. Meanwhile, 32% of Vermonters are living in poverty. In Windsor County, we pay over $120 million in federal taxes just for military funding, including $500,000 to Israel's military. money that could provide healthcare for over 22,000 Vermonters. While I understand the select board doesn't decide tax allocation, I offer these figures to help ground your vote. The resolution asks select board members to act upon calls made by residents of Hartford, many of whom have felt the effects of this war directly in our communities. At home, the poverty experienced by Hartford residents is directly linked to military spending. Our tax dollars go to funding bombs to destroy hospitals instead of funding universal and affordable health care. For most of my time living in Vermont, I haven't been able to afford to use the healthcare I pay for, and I still don't have a PCP. That is policy violence. There are homeless folks camped out in this very park that this building sits in, and prioritizing funding military over housing is policy violence. We need you to act with the moral courage to call for a ceasefire, because as Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King said in 1967, the bombs in Vietnam, or for us today in Palestine, explode at home. They destroy the hopes and possibilities for a decent America. We urge you to pass this resolution and to add to the many voices putting pressure on power holders to call for a ceasefire and finally prioritize people over profit.
Thank you very much. You're not gonna recognize it, I'm not gonna run it.
Sorry for that. That was embarrassing. Please go ahead.
That was embarrassing for you to ignore what rules we're supposed to have.
Okay.
Yes.
That's
All right.
Thank you.
My name,
Okay, please identify yourself and your town and village of residence, and we'll give you 2 minutes. Thank
Okay.
you.
My name is Mingwei Huang. I live here in White River Junction. I've been a Hartford resident for 6 years, and I am faculty at Dartmouth, and I'm here to speak in favor of the resolution. So these global and national issues are here at Dartmouth. We have students with personal ties to Palestine, including a first-year student who left Gaza for the first time this fall to come to Dartmouth. Since last October, state violence is part of the daily lives and working conditions of many Upper Valley and Hartford residents affiliated with the college, like myself. Last November, 3 college students from the West Bank were shot 90 minutes away in Burlington. So Israel's bombardment and siege of Gaza has claimed upwards of 40,000 people, the vast majority being civilians, and over a third of which are children. This does not include those who are buried under the rubble. The UN estimates that half of Gaza's population will face starvation next month. There are over 70,000 people injured, and Gaza has the highest number of child amputees in the world. Our tax dollars are funding these mass casualties. As Tim mentioned, every major human rights organization in the world is describing Israel's conduct and Gaza's war crimes. In January, the ICJ found that Israel is plausibly committing genocide in Gaza. Just last week, Israel dropped a US bomb on a UN school where displaced families were sheltering, killing 32 last weekend in what has been called the Trojan Horse Massacre. The US and Israel used the $320 million temporary humanitarian pier in Gaza to do exactly what they accused UNRWA and Palestinians of doing all along, smuggling troops into a civilian populations through humanitarian aid convoys, only to massacre innocent people. So the US can put an end to military funding for Israel, as Senator Sanders and Welch and Representative Balnett have expressed, and I've called their offices, we need a ceasefire. A permanent, not a temporary one, is the bare minimum to end this indiscriminate slaughter and work toward lasting peace in the region. I hope that Hartford, even Hartford, can join our elected representatives and Lebanon and Hanover in passing the ceasefire resolution. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask if you're running the clock?
Yes, that was 2 minutes and 15 seconds, and she was finishing up her
No,
comments.
I'm not against her, but I'm just asking.
Yeah, I'm running the clock.
How come the people can't see the clock?
Well, because I'm running it on this, because I don't know how to use this one.
Brief, and I'll be keeping this brief.
Okay,
Hi, I'm Pete Sandron,
okay.
currently of Orange County, Vermont, one of the very first Iranians born in Vermont. And I have a very direct connection to what's going on. Among other things, since 2005, I've held an honorary rank of Sipa Sadr in Artesh, Iran, partly for my work in helping train not just members of Iran's armed forces, but armed forces in the region, including including Palestinians, fighting for their freedom to successfully handle the IDF and other aggressors. Now, I could go on all night long, and if I were to go to detail the criminal nature and the atrocities Israel has committed over the decades, centuries in the region. But the big point, it's supportive. Israel is founded on Zionism. Zionism is a form of criminal activity because it gives Jewish people and others supporting them the false idea that they can do whatever they want. And my dad's family has had personal dealings with two of the worst Jewish criminals. One of them, Meyer Lansky, not only helped found Israel, but did so many criminal acts against my family so bad. Back at the end of 1972, the state police in New York and Vermont had to work to bring my dad up here for his own safety, to get him away from the Lansky syndicate. That's an idea how violent. And the other one, my stepdad, just to give an idea of three of some of his most heinous acts. One, back in the late 1970s, early 1980s, what he did to my dad's family and me was so bad, they had to change the law in Vermont because of it. And the people in Washington County, and especially under the State House in Montpelier, they do not like to be reminded of what he did. In the 1990s, he defrauded me and my father's family hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, so bad, I cannot even use a credit card or make online payments for.
Sir, that's 2 minutes if you could just sum up.
Yeah, but among other things, the third worst thing, because what he did in the 1990s, I can no longer patronize places like the Greyhound up here, because I can only pay cash. But the third, what he did was so bad at the end of 2019, the mass shooting, that snowballed into this endless war that America and that's going on in the Middle East, including what's happening in Palestine. Consider, if you back Israel, you're backing crime. It's not just the genocide of what's going on in Gaza. It's Israel is a criminal nation. Don't back crime.
Thank you, sir. Other public comment?
Good evening, Elizabeth Feinberg, Hartford resident and property owner here in White River Junction. So I am directly concerned about where my tax dollars go. And I want to say that I don't want my tax dollars going to fund genocide and munitions against children. And that I don't think any of you as town residents and taxpayers should want that either.
Thanks very much.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Town Manager, can you tell me, please, where it is within the Hartford budget that we are supporting arms for Iran, for Israel?
I'm not aware of any.
Thank you very much. Within the town budget, we have no arms that are being provided for Israel whatsoever. Thank you for that clarification, sir.
Okay, is there any other comment in the room? Otherwise, we'll go to the people who are joining us by Zoom. Okay,
we have two people on Zoom, our iPhone, Laura and Jerry. I assume it's Jerry Williams, but Laura by iPhone.
Okay, Laura, will.
Lanny, do you want me to manage?
I got it.
Do you want me to? Well, then you gotta let them, okay, then you have to click on their.
All right, if you got it, go ahead.
Okay, Laura. Laura, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. So you can comment. You've got 2 minutes.
Okay. 1 second. I have heard, I'm Laura Simon from Wilder, Vermont, and I would hope you can vote in favor of this resolution. I've heard the select board say that they're concerned that maybe there aren't very many people in Hartford who would support this kind of a resolution. But I want to bring your attention to Senator Welch, who is our neighbor in Norwich and has been a public servant for many years. He's had hundreds of people call him. At first, himself and our 2 other representatives might not have taken the stand that they are now. But let me quote him so you understand where he is, and hopefully that can help guide you of why it's so important to support this. He says that Yahoo said that there needs to be We need to be able to say no even to our best friends. He's referring to the US. While American taxpayers provided the planes, the bombs, and the tanks, and the United States needs to be able to say no more. How much worse does the situation have to get in Gaza? And how much wider of a war in the Middle East before we use this country's considerable leverage, including withholding additional lethal aid, to get Israel to stop its bombing campaign, negotiate a ceasefire, and release of the remaining hostages, and allow the dramatic increase in food, water, and other humanitarian aid needed to prevent widespread starvation, death, and disease. The UN and other relief organizations warn is imminent. So what is happening in Gaza is intolerable, and we as the US share this responsibility. I just wanted to share that, and hopefully people on the select board realize that when we have leaders of our state, all three of our representatives in Washington, taking a stand based on their constituents, telling them how important it is, I think that applies to us as well. And I hope you will look favorably at this and not get bogged down in wording, but still stay with the overall intent is when Hartford calls for ceasefire, we join 14 other towns in the state who already have. And thank you for all your time that you've put into this.
Thank you, Laura.
Yeah.
Next speaker, we have Jerry Williams, or I believe it's Jerry.
Jerry, can you hear us?
And I don't see a mic listed to allow her to speak. Oh, right there. Hang on a second.
I got it, Lanny.
I just did it.
Jerry, can you hear us?
Hi, I'm Geraldine Williams. I live in Wilder, Vermont. And I thank you for the opportunity to speak. I come to you as a longtime resident of the town of Hartford. I've seen many things come and go, and I was especially appreciative last meeting to hear members of the select board talk about the policy that needs to be set for resolutions coming before them from private citizens. I've seen a series like this before. I feel like we're being pressured and bullied by excuse me?
Go ahead, Jerry.
I feel like we're being bullied as select board members to make a decision and to be put down if we don't. This is a well-oiled machine. People are lined up to talk in favor of this tonight. It is very obvious that this is all pre-prepared, all well done and read. I'm talking from my heart. I ask you to wait on a vote on this, like you waited on a vote to make a policy for the heroes for Hartford. We didn't rush into that. We took some time. We came up with a policy because I foresee, so who's going to come with the next resolution? Is it going to be the Israelis? Is it going to be the Ukrainians? Is it going to be the Russians? Is it going to be? We, as members of the town of Hartford, have a responsibility to do the work of the town. And there are many of us who have many different perspectives, and that's very hard from your point of view to try to represent all of us. I understand that, but I feel like we're being pressured, and I've been here before, and I've seen our town become divided because we were pushed into things that we really didn't quite understand. So I urge you, if we're going to think about this, that to have some public forums, to not just think about the people that are lined up and and are already prepared to speak in favor or not, but to actually get information from the residents of the town of Hartford, not from just a few. And it's important work. People are working on our behalf every single day to try to come to resolution about this issue. This is a long-term generational issue. It's not a good thing, but we have people with incredible knowledge that are out there trying to bring peaceful resolution right now. And that's where we need to be putting our support. And so I urge you to think cautiously, not to rush into supporting this resolution or any other resolution until we really have a good policy in place. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jerry. We have someone in the room.
Hi, my name is Corey Harai. I live in White River Junction. And I understand that there's lots of concerns that this is not really town business, but we're desperate. Like, we have been calling our Congress people, we've been calling our senators, we've been calling everybody. And like, it hasn't changed. We're still funding the war. We're still funding the genocide. And we elected you to represent us. And we've gone through all the correct, traditional, proper channels, and we haven't gotten an answer. And so we're hoping that you guys, since we have access to you, because we can have conversations with you face to face, that you guys will stand up and make our voices louder so that the people who have the power will listen to us, because us going to them directly hasn't changed anything. And we're just hoping that you will amplify our message of of almost 300 people in town who said that they would support this resolution, that they want their voices to be heard by more people, by the people with power. And I'm just hoping that you guys will, that you will amplify our voices and, represent us to the people with the power and make sure that they know that this is a widespread feeling that we don't want to be in this war.
Thank you very much.
Jerry still has her hand up. I don't know. And Laura has her hand up as well. So I don't know if they still want to speak or not.
Jerry and Laura, I don't know if you have another comment. Your hands are still up on Zoom. So if you don't have another comment, if you could lower them, that would be helpful. Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, Kelly.
Kelly Armbrust, West Hartford. I just want to respond to the question or concerns about support, and also including community members. I feel like in the past weeks, we've had many meaningful conversations with residents about this resolution outside of the co-op. We also had this, invited the community I invited them on the listserv, and we put up flyers, inviting people to come talk about their concerns if they were on the fence or wanted more information. We made an attempt to reach people as best that we could. And I think there were many conversations with people at the co-op, people that didn't end up signing, who were opposed, or people who were not sure how they felt, but there were good conversations and they went away thinking about it. We've collected, I think 294, something like that, signatures. I think 48 of those people left comments in support that we've submitted to the select board. I'm curious how those numbers compare to the number of people who have contacted you in opposition to this. I know it's a tricky thing. And I guess I would also, I think I said this last time, but if Hartford follows general public opinion trends, I'm guessing the majority of Hartford voters would support this. I don't know how many residents in this town are Democrat or progressive versus Republican, but we've had a progressive leaning board for a while now. And we know from the Gallup poll in March that, I know Tim said 55% of people, and I said this last time, supported a ceasefire. If you divide that into the Democrats versus Republicans, whatever, the Democratic voters, it was like 75% that feel like Israel is, they don't approve of Israel's actions in Gaza. And then to speak to voters, there are 9,440 registered voters in Hartford. Only 2,379 voted in the last election. Those are the people that elected you to represent us. So in theory, all voters have the opportunity to vote. Also, in theory, all voters have the opportunity to follow select board meetings and be informed about what's being brought before the board and to make comment. So I just feel like we've made an effort to do that. And I feel like we've gathered significant support given the number of people who are actively engaged in town politics. I think that was all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Any other public comments?
Molly Armbrust again, West Hartford. I just want to really quickly respond to two concerns that were just raised. Recovering from the cold. One is that sort of if we do this, this like may lead to us sort of taking on resolutions for many other things. And so I just want to send out the reminder that this is unique because we are so directly involved in funding the aggression and violence. And then sort of that comment on public forums, you know, wanting more education around this. We did make an effort to do that, and we can continue to do that, even if this is approved. And I would personally have loved to sort of hear from those of you who are raising concerns at tonight's meeting. I would have loved to have seen you last Friday and dialogued around these issues. So we have done that, and I think we are committed to continuing to do that, but I don't see that as stopping us as a town from approving this resolution. So I just wanted to give those points in. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I may make one quick response to Landy's comment about the town budget, and this will take less than 30 seconds.
Very, very quickly,
Yeah,
then the board's
I
gonna
do
move on.
point out that while the town does not have fund the military directly, the town of Hartford does have a VA facility here, specifically a major VA PTSD facility, which not only treats American service members, but also their allies, including Israeli service members. And a longer conflict like this drags on, the more patients they will handle. And I have noticed quite a few safety issues here, which me and other people connected with the services from all around the world have noticed in town. So please consider that.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. All right, board, I don't see any other public comment in the room. We have others on Zoom, so discussion or?
Yeah, just quick discussion, because there has been discussion about whether this is in our purview to do this. In the 2009 decision in Pleasant Grove versus Summum, the Supreme Court held, quote, "A government entity has the right to speak for itself. It is entitled to say what it wishes and to select the views that it wants to express. That in fact, our history is based on what common people have done, and our judicial system is based on common people." So regardless of whether you believe it or not, we do, as members of Select Board, have the right to express our opinions on this. So.
Thank you, Mary. Sue?
I don't even know where to start. I have had some of the best conversations about this issue with some new friends I made down the road from where I live. And I think we were respectful to each other. And basically, we don't disagree. So then I tried to invite two people to my office who were so disrespectful to me, I didn't know where to go with it. And what I'm hearing in this room that really disturbs me is an assumption on the part of many here that we're some kind of ignoramuses who don't understand what is going on in Israel and Palestine, that we don't stay up at night worrying about this. There was a comment made about, well, we just want to make sure that you guys understand this. This is not the way to have a respectful dialogue about an issue that is absolutely huge. I absolutely agree with that. One of the things we talked about down the road is friends of mine in South Sudan who can't feed their kids. The situation there is, especially in Sudan, but now it's trickling into South Sudan. There are so many places on the planet where this stuff is going on. I don't understand why, there's an assumption that we don't get how important this is, or any respect, except for a couple of people I spent some time talking with down the road, that we might have concerns about whether this is the thing we should be doing in this town. You know, we spend a lot of time volunteering here for the most part. We go to a lot of other meetings. I want to spend time talking to people in town, and to be vilified because I don't accept that this is a proper issue in front of the select board is very disturbing to me. Don't assume that people up here don't understand how awful it is, please. And if you took all this energy to DC, you would get further. These 6 or 7 people saying, yes, this is important, doesn't change one single thing that's going to happen in DC. This is hard work changing the world. I don't like the assumption that I've never done it, that I'm some kind of idiot who doesn't understand what's going on here. I was very open to this at the beginning, and I'm not anymore. I think it is divisive. I think it's insulting, and I can't support it. I'm sorry. But what I'm saying I don't support is the idea that we should pass a resolution here. And you're laughing again now. Man.
Yeah. As I stated before, I believe what's happening over to Israel and Gaza is deplorable. I believe what's happening in Ukraine is deplorable. I believe what's happening in South America is horrible. There is so much bloodshed in the world around us that is horrible. That is terrible. All right. I don't know why it is that we have to say that we have to take a stand against Israel, against Gaza, and not take a stand against genocide or apartheid or any other things that are happening that are atrocious that are happening in the world today. The reason that we shouldn't is because we as a local board need to focus on the needs of the town of Hartford. We are here elected body to focus on the needs of the town of Hartford, not the wants and desires of the town of Hartford, the needs of the town of Hartford. Those are what we're elected to do. And we are trying to fulfill that mission. Any time that we spend talking about something of this nature takes away from our job that we're elected by the citizens to fulfill the needs of the citizens within the town of Hartford. It's taking away of our mission. And it's not that I don't believe that what's happening in the world is wrong. It just doesn't belong on this stage. You need to speak out to your local representatives, your government representatives. I mean, everyone heard the town manager say that we're not supporting arms at all for the Hartford budget. I don't know of anybody, save a couple people out there that are reloading on their workbench in their workshop that are putting out 30 rounds or shotgun shells for target practicing, that are making anything for arms are going to be dropped on Gaza. I mean, come back to reality here, people. We're not pumping out arms out of Hartford, and we're not supporting arms out of Hartford. Our tax dollars are being spent for the betterment of Hartford. To try to say otherwise is preposterous. I cannot support this on any level. I mean, I don't want to get even started on what should be right between Israel and Gaza and how I believe as a Christian, but I just don't believe that on a level of government, we shouldn't be involved in that. It's totally a waste of our time.
Okay, thank you, Lanny. Any other board comments? We don't have a motion on the floor. If we have one, we would vote on it. If not,
Kim's got her hand up. I don't know if she wants to speak on this thing.
Kim, you had your hand up. Why don't we hear from you?
Of course, I want to speak on this. Are you hearing an echo there?
I think you're okay. We'll let you know.
All right. Fundamentally, I am in full support of the Hartford Selectboard doing a ceasefire resolution, full stop, even though it's primarily symbolic, I think. I'm not opposed to the town making a simple resolution and sharing it with our congressional delegation and president. A couple of notes that I wanted to make is when Laura Simon was talking about Peter Welsh's comments and then suggested that we shouldn't get bogged down in the words. And I think that's where I'm bogged down. I'm bogged down in the words, and some of the language used in the proposed resolution is very problematic for me as a representative of the town of Hartford. And, you know, Senator Welch did not use the word genocide and did not, did refer to Israel as a state representative of ours. And I've spent many hours researching and talking and meeting with members of the proposing group. And we talked about potential editing suggestions that would make me more comfortable with the language and potentially get it to a place that was a little more moderate and less aggressive, and to something that I could support as a board member. And that was pretty flatly rejected. And so I feel like the opportunity for a compromise was really lost. But yesterday, fortunately on June 10th, the UN Security Council did adopt a resolution for a ceasefire. And if the board were willing to entertain it, I have drafted a very simple one-sentence statement in which could read the UN resolution in a statement that echoes our support for the UN Security Council ceasefire resolution, which would then allow Hartford to be represented in the list of Vermont cities and towns that support a ceasefire resolution. That's about where I'm at this moment. And I'm happy I could screen share this one sentence I'm talking about. I could screen share like I have them ready if anyone wants to review them.
Okay, thank you, Kim. Other
Thank you,
board
Kim.
comments?
Just point of order.
Sure.
Is a member of this board now making a proposal on a different resolution than what was brought?
I think she sort of said, you know, I don't think she's making a formal motion.
I could answer that. I mean, the one option is I also have the proposed resolution up on my screen, and I could basically suggest a very major edit to the proposed resolution is one option, if that's more minimal. Or clearly, if the board wants to entertain that, but not at this time, then it could be go on to another meeting and propose it at a later date.
Thank you, Kim. Bryn?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I will say that from the first time this resolution was mentioned, my fellow board member Sue was publicly against this board ruling on it. I'd like to set that record straight.
I would like a point of order that you don't get to clarify what I said, which is on the record, and you are
Next meeting, I will read back the video transcript of what was said in the first time this was introduced. My comment is that at the current moment on this issue, I believe institutional neutrality is harmful, and I'll say why. During the first few weeks of Israel's war against Palestinian citizens, most, if not all, members of Congress shut their phone lines off. That's because of how many people called them. They just couldn't keep up. But they kept sending Israel weapons for the next 7.5 months. So that's why I believe that otherwise everyday institutions like the one we're on must say something, because Congress isn't listening. Neither is the president. In this wildly divided country we're in, more than 2/3 of all US voters, I think we heard Republican and Democrat and independent, support a ceasefire. Maybe if Congress's peers in governance, that's us, speaks up, maybe they'll listen a little better. After many years of watching various American institutions, I've been convinced of the belief that the purpose of a system is what it does. That's because, well, for one, we can't evaluate the truth of statements about intention, but also because if in many or most cases, intention and a dollar will buy you a soda. It just doesn't matter. So all that matters is what a system does and the consequences of what it does. Since Congress and the president have not responded to the 67% of voters, the last rhetorical method of dissent that Hartford residents have is to say something about it through us. If we choose to not make a statement, then what's the purpose of us? I would say it's to prevent any comment about Israel's recent actions from being made. This is to say nothing of the demands some people on the board have made to this group who presented to us. They asked that group to get signatures to demonstrate support. And that's what the group did the last couple of weeks. You know, they spent their evenings doing that. We got the data, we've heard back. My opinion is let's not make that a bait and switch. Today, if you ask prominent politicians or prominent members of the media about the Iraq War, they'll all say that they were against it. But somehow it still happened anyway, as if everyone were against it, but it still happened. And I feel echoes of that now. A bunch of people can be against something in principle, but if you don't do something about it, you might as well be for it, because intentions don't matter. The purpose of a system is what it does.
Thank you, Brennan. Please let's keep it down in the audience. Well, hold on. You've spoken once, Ida.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to say? You don't have to.
I do, yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I wanted to comment on, I've heard folks in town make the point that this is not an issue that the town should be considering. And I think to the matter of, does it detract from us addressing the business of the town? I mean, I think as a select board member, I take that responsibility very seriously to, attend to the matters of the town. I don't feel like this personally is detracted from my duties in that regard in any way. I also think that effective governance is about relationships and creating and building relationships with the community. And this is something that I think has strengthened, my understanding of the range of viewpoints in our town and created new relationships around understanding something that people are passionate about and took the time to organize around and bring to the select board. I think I understand the concerns of, is this something that we should, what if there are other resolutions, I understand that this is an unusual strategy that people at a local level are organizing and coming to local government and ask them to pass a resolution about a global problem, an atrocity. I think it's an unusual strategy because people feel really strongly that it's a really remarkably unusual circumstance and issue that the US government has a role in, and that coming to local government is, and I mean, the other thing that's important to me is that it's in the context of a larger movement of other towns and municipalities passing resolutions because citizens are choosing that avenue of organization. So yeah, as a person on this board, I see it as, within my role, within something, it's like taking an unusual action that is something that citizens are requesting of us. And so that's part of why I'm in support of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ida. Quickly before I get to you, Lanny, Kim, I think that we should probably focus on this resolution in front of us before we think about adopting something else on the fly. And so the board, if we have a motion and a second, we'll vote on it. If we don't have a motion or we have a motion and no second, we will move on to the rest of our agenda. I think we've heard from a lot of people tonight and we've had a passionate but still generally civil
I still have more to speak on.
Ready? Go ahead.
So
Go ahead.
Mr. Smith stated that the phone lines of our politicians in Washington were blown up and they shut their phone lines off. By that very statement, he's implying that all phone calls to our representative in Washington were calling for a ceasefire solution. That's an implication that he cannot prove. The other thing that was stated is that you received all these signatures from people standing outside the co-op down at White River Junction to have this Gaza resolution come before this. Well, I can't say with definitive answer, but I am sure if I were to stand outside the co-op or the post office, that I could collect signatures from hundreds of people in this town, not just 2, not just 3, that would say that this is not something that the Hartford Selectboard should be involved in because it's not within the purview of this board. So that's something that it's preposterous for you to say that you went to all this work of collecting signatures to come before us and say that these people are supporting a ceasefire resolution, when people out there would normally say, that's not your job to start with. Why are you even bringing this before the board? I find it preposterous, the thought process that just because we collected 200 signatures to do this, we should bring this before the board and we have a majority of people that support this. People are not standing up in support against this because they normally assume that this is not something we should be doing. I mean, it's preposterous to think otherwise on this thing. And just because other towns are doing it doesn't mean we should be doing it. Other people are jumping off the Quechee Gorge. If you want to go and jump off the Quechee Gorge, that's your choice. But I don't think this board should be doing that. So we don't have to follow suit like lemmings.
Okay, thank you, Lanny. Board, we either need a motion or we're going to move on to commission reports. I think we've spent plenty of time on this. Mary?
I move that the select board accept the Gaza ceasefire resolution as presented by the people who have come before us several times.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a second from Brandon. Time for discussion. People want to discuss again, and otherwise we will call the roll.
No, you're going to vote this in, so just do it and get on with it. So go ahead, call a vote.
Any discussion from the board? Okay. Call the roll. Lanny?
No.
Sue?
No.
Ida?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Brandon?
Aye.
Kim?
No.
And I will vote no. So that's 4-3. The resolution does not pass. All right, thank you everyone for coming and for the discussion. We're going to move on to commission.
We do have a sign-in sheet and everybody's encouraged
We
to
have
sign.
the sign in and we have the recording, so we can have that for the minutes. All right, we're going to move on to commission reports. Kim, do you have any commission reports?
I think Mary's going to report on H. Corey, and Planning Commission met last night, but I'm going to present that next meeting because I haven't had time to write up my notes.
All right, thank you, Kim.
So
Brandon?
no.
Okay. Brandon, any commission reports?
No.
Mary, any commission reports?
Yes. H. Corey met on June 5th, and they welcomed Beth O'Donnell, who grew up in Hanover but currently lives in Grantham and is the Director of Community Health at Alice Peck Day, where the goals of that program revolve around human-centered needs in the Upper Valley. She gave an example of the current population of Riverview, which is Twin Pines, right across the street from us, where 2/3 of the families who reside there have someone under 18 years of age. Juneteenth, as you've heard today, is around the corner, a joint celebration with Lebanon on June 22nd. Some of the speakers may include retiring Senator of Windsor County, Dick McCormick, also the Mayor of Lebanon, and possibly Bernie Sanders, but could also be Ethan Lawrence, campaign manager for Bernie. The emphasis for this event will be on fun and less speakers than in the past. There will also be a table at Juneteenth to gather resources for the Anne Reynolds Memorial Award for DEI and Social Justice. We are waiting for the school board to approve the charter changes for H. Corey recently approved by the select board. and the Strategy Matters Safety Assessment Survey is open until the end of this month. And the other commission report, June 3rd, Hartford Conservation Commission met. There was guest speaker, former Conservation Board member Marty Bannock, currently with Trout Unlimited, and Vins spoke to the Hartford Conservation Commission about the erosion of the riverbank along the David Chang Conservation Area. Last summer, the bank eroded and lost a large chunk of land, 150 to 200 feet, during the July flooding, and he wonders if it would be in the best interest of the river and the conservation area to plant trees that might shore up the bank with joint funding from HCC and Trout Unlimited. The board responded with setting the next meeting in July as a field trip to the David Chang Conservation Area to observe the situation and also consider the threatened and endangered plants that may have been on the bank and may be gone. As you all know, this is past information. Green Up Day in May netted over 450 volunteers and a larger group of businesses and organizations that participated. Less tires this year, but added a discarded water heater in with recyclables. Upcoming events that have already taken place was the Forest Frolic on June 8th at 10 to 11, running concurrently with the Trail Work Day from 8:30 to noon with a grill afterwards. And of course, the block party on June 19th is coming up from 5 to 7:30.
Thank you, Mary. Ida, do you have any commission reports?
No.
Sue, any commission reports?
No, sir.
Lanny, any commission reports?
No.
I have no commission reports, so we'll move to consent agenda. I will take a motion for the consent agenda.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Kim.
John, could you confirm if the edits that I requested for those two sets of minutes were able to be made?
I believe so. I believe so.
Okay, just like if they get signed, we'll just, can you make sure?
Yes, I will make sure that they comply with your requests if they can be manipulated in some way without needing further signatures, yes.
Okay, and if the board's not familiar, it's in John's reply to my questions. So you'd be approving amended minutes, like I guess I could do, you want me to do the motion, Mike?
Yeah, please.
Okay, bear with me. Okay, Mr. Chair, I move that the select board approve payroll ending June 8, 2024, the AP manifests of June 7th and June 13th, 2024, the amended meeting minutes of May 28, 2024, and the amended minutes of June 4th, 2024. And that's it.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Sue. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, and then I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Sue. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, adjourned.